everyone, and welcome to another video talking geeky stuff with me, Tianxi, and today's video is another focus on comic artist Simon Bisley. Hope I pronounced that right. So, Simon, technically, he's not really a comic artist. I mean, he does comics, of course, that's where I first noticed him. But he does a lot more than that, he does a lot of, back then, album covers, CD covers, movie covers, posters, fiction, book covers, so he does a whole lot. So Simon Bisley reminds me of another version of, I could have to call it a Jay Lee in that kind of camp of artists. So a few months back I did a comic artist focus on Jay Lee. And when I say similarities, they're both really exaggerated, their artwork. I would say Jay Lee is a bit more serious, somewhat a little bit more elegant. I mean, I don't mean Simon Bisley's work is not elegant. Just think of this. I think that if Simon is a more oil painter and Jay Lee's more of a watercolor painter, because I think Jay Lee's artwork is a bit more smoother and elegant, I would say, but kind of also quite frenetic. Where Simon Bisley, you can see from image here, is very, very raw. His artwork's really raw, but same energetic as Jay Lee's. And I would say his artwork's definitely more solid. Like I said, the oil painter reference. So anyway, that's the comparison I was giving between Simon and Jay Lee, because I feel they're both in that camp of comic artists where highly exaggerated, highly, how do you call it? Stylized, I would say. Well, anyway, how did I come across his work? Back in the early to mid 90s, that's when I discovered his work. I would say that I kind of missed out on his work on the late 80s, early 90s, because at that time, I was so into my, the Jim Lee, the McFarlane, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld. Even a couple of years after that, you had Joe Madureira, J. Scott Campbell, Travis Charest. So Simon's work kind of flew by me a bit. So the time I really noticed was about in 94, because I'm a big Stallone fan, and if you guys follow me, I did a Sylvester Stallone video a few weeks ago. And one of the films I talked about was Stallone did a Judge Dredd live action, and Judge Dredd is a comic in 2000 AD comic, is UK, set in like a UK company. Kind of already knew about Judge Dredd, but never really interested. I was too busy doing reading Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, even Image as well at that time. So I kind of. I didn't have enough money. I was young, teenager then, so you kind of had to be selective, right? But anyway, about 94, a year before Judge Dredd, the live action came out, I wanted to find out more about Judge Dredd. So, went to a comic shop. I think it was Forbidden Planet in London, central London, and picked up some. Well, asked one of the comic guys, and say, hey, can you recommend me some good Judge Dredd comics? He picked out a couple, and straight away I knew about, this art looks great. Who is this guy? And that's when I learned about Simon. Flicked through it. I was like, wow, this guy is amazing. Anyway, as I say, rest is history, and I followed his work. And since then, I went back, picked up some of his back issues, and I've been following since then. I think one of my favorite comics that with Simon, he never really had a ongoing series. Like 1 year, 2 years consistently. He was always that kind of guy. Did shorts, 5 issues here, 5 issues there, kind of like a freelancer. And some of my favorite work he done is Lobo, and I think he made Lobo his own. He didn't create Lobo, of course, but he made it his own. He kind of put his own stamp on Logo. So after his run on Logo, I think kind of every artist kind of, took some inspiration from him. And moving, of course, like most comic artists out there, they all dabbled in like with Marvel, DC, and so on. Another good one I always liked was when he did the Hulk and Wolverine one. I like the way he did Hulk. He's pretty crazy, very exaggerated. And Wolverine, always, like I said before in some of my videos, is always judge an artist how good they do a Wolverine. I don't know why. And he does a great Punisher, as you can see. And Ghost Rider, I think Ghost Rider is up his alley because of the Judge Dredd reference on the motorbike. On some of his work that he's a lot known for was heavy metal. Never really got into the comics. I did watch the animation. I didn't think too much of it, to be honest. I thought it was okay. I know he's a cult following, got big fan base and so on, but his artwork is amazing. I don't know how good his artwork will probably stand today's society, because today's society is very sensitive, especially the way he draws women. You can clearly see some of the exaggerated proportions. So I don't know how well received his work would be today. But as in saying that, I know that he has a big following in the heavy metal and the rock scene, because he does a lot of covers for albums, and his work kind of lends itself to that, very rock and metal kind of, exaggerated, and got kind of like, how to say, really like a temper, an anger behind it, a good anger, a good temper. I don't mean like a good rage, really expressive of, I don't know, a teenage. What I'm trying to say is, when I was young, look at his work, it really kind of made me feel what I was feeling, because he had that kind of rage, the anger, the frustration with societies, and you grow up, and how you really want to just let everything go and do things, go crazy. Hope that makes sense. I know, and looking at his artwork, it kind of reminds you of that, especially when you're growing up, you have all that feelings, and how the society is consistently changing and so on. Anyway, and another character, apart from Wolverine, that I like to judge an artist is Batman. Batman, one of the most famous, if not the famous, superhero on the planet. If you look at some of his the Batman drawings, sometimes he's got short ears, and sometimes really exaggerated. Again, he's, like I said, he's an artist for hire. He does a lot of freelance work, but I tell you what he is really good at. He did a short series on Conan the Barbarian. His work really suits that. He reminds me of the classic 1980s cover. And he like the Conan the Barbarian cover, where he stand up, the sword in the air, the big guy, muscular guy, kind of art. It's very 80s, I would say. His artwork really lends that, and and I think that, look at some of the drawings. In the 80s, we had film covers with a lot of drawing painters. Unlike today, it's just mostly photos and Photoshop. Back then, they actually got artists to paint, the poster for the film. And you look at some of these pictures here, images here, they can pass up in a movie. Look at them. The Terminator here looks like, heavy metal, the Death Blow from Image. If you just slightly modify them a little bit, you can actually imagine them being posters for the movie. So his artwork's kind of like that as well. And like I said, I'm not sure how well his artwork will get received today. I mean, take a look at some of these images here. To me, like I said, artwork is fantasy, and you can say this is fantasy. There's not really many females that look like this in the world, but hey, that's what art is about, right? It's interpretation, really. I know some people may say this is sexist in this day and age, but it's for its time. I think it's definitely for its time. And do I agree with it? Hey, back then, yes. Today, maybe But you take away all of that, just look at the artwork, the painting. Speaking about the way painting, unlike many comic artists, he does his own inking, his own painting. He adds a lot of layers to it. You look at some of these images; they're almost 3D in some way. A lot of artists nowadays are quite flat. Their drawings are quite flat, but this guy's drawings really comes off the page. So yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think of Simon Bisley's work. Do you think his work will be accepted today without any criticism, or do you think it's just what it is, right? Anyway, thank you for staying this long, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the world. Until next time, goodbye.